Yo, what is going on, guys? We are back today for a very exciting video and a very fun topic to discuss. Before we get into anything, though, just need to make one thing abundantly clear, that this is 100% solely based on my experience playing the game over the last 360 days, and this is all my opinion. None of us have the same experience over the last 360 days, so none of us are going to have the exact same opinions. So it's totally cool to disagree. All I ask is to keep it respectful and civil in the comments, and we'll be good. Without any further ado, though, let's go ahead and count down Legacy's top 10 picks for 2024, the best champions created this year. And we're going to be using every champion that comes up when you put in the 2024 tag in game, because that's all we did. You know, anyone can put in the 2024 tag. It's everyone that pops up, deathless included. So we're gonna be talking about them as well. Not Deathless Vision though, because he sucks. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the number 10 spot. And number 10 and number 9 are where it's a little tricky for me, but once we get into the top 8, things become a lot more clear-cut, in my perspective. So we actually have a tie at the number 10 spot, and that is our Halloween champions of Scream and Jack-O-Lantern. So I think both these champions are incredible, great additions to the contest. The reason why I just can't put them any higher is I'm struggling to see where they're really going to be widely used and frequently used. Jack-O-Lantern, he's an onslaught counter, which is great. He's going to be a reliable onslaught counter in Alliance War and Battlegrounds, and that's great for him. He's also just great against targeting mutants with his plasma, targeting them in those matchups. It's got reverse control immunity, which is really nice. So I think Jack is great. I recently pulled him. I think I'm planning on taking him to rank 3 personally. I feel like I'm a little bit more excited about Jack than Scream, but it's really hard for me to say which one is just overall better. I feel like Jack is focused and built to be battling onslaughts, whereas Scream, not so much a one-trick pony. She can do a lot in different matchups, plus she just looks incredible. And I really enjoyed testing both of these champions. So I find them very hard to rank, honestly. But I think they both warranted a top 10 position. So they're tying at that number 10 spot. Now, at our number 9 spot, we have another tie. And then I promise that's it. No more ties. So technically, it's more than 10 champs. It's technically 12, but just couldn't do it without ties. It just wouldn't feel right to me. And the next tie is a mystical tie, actually. So let's just put this to Mystic. There have been a plethora of Mystic champions released this year, but at the number 9 spot, we have our Summoner's Choice champion of Shathra, the Wasp Queen, who, again, similar to Scream, just looks incredible. You can really see the detail on PC. Like, look at these wings are crazy, man. So yeah, Shathra, she looks so wild and disgusting, but I love it. Yeah, I think she's great. I did a testing stream for her as well. She has some really niche stuff, with the special 3, being able to heal back any energy damage that she had taken throughout the fight. Like, I tested this against Domino and Iceman, and she can heal like every ounce of damage that they dealt, as long as it's energy based. Iceman through his cold snap and Domino through her critical failure. Shathra can just heal all that back up with a special 3, which is really slick. My only gripe with Shathra is when I was testing her, I always thought, and she was like rumored to be like this crazy, power gain champ and power steal champion. She has power steal, but she's not a power control champ. To me, that she doesn't feel like a power control champ. She feels like a power gain champ. So she's really good at gaining power, but she's not so good at controlling the opponent's power. That's the vibe that I got from playing her. She gets an absurd amount of power, which is a ton of fun, but I just wish she had a little bit better and more control of the opponent's power. If she did, I would be putting her higher, but she's still great and she's also tagged as a dimensional being, which is super interesting. That allows her to be able to use for one of the new Karina challenges. I've heard some pretty good things about her and Necro there. She has a very unique damage source as well with her wasps that no one in the game is immune to, as far as I know. So yeah, Shathra, she's pretty neat. Not quite at the level I wanted our first ever Mystic Summoner's Choice champ to be, but definitely not even close to as big of a disappointment as Gladiator was, you know, when he first came out. So yeah, I think Shathra is a great addition to the contest. Really good for the big cosmics like Maestro and Serpent. I'm very curious to see how she'll be for Deathless Thanos as well, another big cosmic boy. But that is Shathra. And then tying Shathra at this number 9 spot, we have Spiral, who also looks incredible with all the arms. She's from the Mojo world. You know, I recently watched X-Men earlier this year, the original, and then in preparation to then watch 97, and you know, I got to see Spiral in the original, which was really cool. And she always seemed like a neat character. I was not at all expecting to see her in MCSC, but you know, we already have Mojo long shot. It made sense to get some more Mojo versus champs, so I think she's a phenomenal addition, and she brings in, you know, a brand new whole what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know. Mechanic. That's it. A whole new mechanic with her dancing blades, which is really interesting. And of course, with those dancing blades, you know, she can just instantly destroy. Removes a given number of buffs from the target and replaces them with a rubble buff that has no effect and lasts for a described duration. So she can destroy, you know, Serpent's death immunity, which is one of the strongest buffs in the whole game. You know, that's what Spiral was really meant to be, a really good Serpent counter. Plus, you know, she can just get crazy long combos going. Her damage source is Rupture, which is a very good damage source to have. Very, very few immunities in the whole game to that. She also has immunity to Falter, which is pretty neat as well. I think I know one other champ that's immune to Falter is going to be on this list, and another champ that cannot miss. But being immune to Falter is really nice because there's some Falter nodes, so Spiral can just counter that. I really like Spiral. I would really like her. Her and Shathra, you know, I do not have on the main, so it is a little bit harder to place them in this list. But I do think they're both incredible additions to the Mystic class, and definitely warrant a top 10 position for sure. Yeah, I think they are the best offensive Mystic champs that we got this year, personally. And that's just because I don't know how to play Enchantress offensively. She might be really good offensively, but she's so convoluted and complicated for me. So, yeah. But that is our number 10 and number 9 spot with 4 champions. But like I said, now that we're moving on to number 8, there's no more ties, and I think things are a whole lot more clear-cut the way I see it. So, coming in at our number 8 spot, we have a great champion who doesn't get enough love, honestly, and that is Dust. So, Dust, man, first of all, she has immunities for Dave's Bleed, Poison, and Shock. Some triple immunities in the Mutant class makes her very unique. Great immunities, especially having the Poison one. You know, a lot of champs can be immune to Bleed and Shock, but also having Poison on top of that is rare, especially outside of robots specifically. So to have that, and again in the Mutant class, it's truly rare. So just for those immunities alone, that sets Dust up for great things. And then on top of everything, her health pool is massive. You can see at rank 2 she has 74,000 health. Like, if we compare that to some of the other champs this year, I mean, let's see, I think I should click these arrows. So 74,000. The leader is a really tanky dude. She has more health than him. Like, that is crazy. Beta Ray Bill, pretty healthy dude, 70,000 health pool. Deathless Vision 68, Ironheart 61. Oh, she looks weird. Negasonic 53. So, like, for most, usually female champions as well, their base stats aren't as high, especially their HP, especially, like, going back. But in recent years, they've changed this, and Dust is a very, very prime example of that, with just a very colossal health pool. And, of course, we've only talking about Dust so far offensively. She is an absolute menace on defense, so having that massive health pool goes such a long way. If my Dust was awakened, I guarantee you she would already be rank 3. That is the one and only thing holding me back from taking her to rank 3. She's just unduped. I don't want to do it unduped. Not that the awakening ability matters that much, but it is nice. When you're championing combo reaches multiple 10 Dust, has a max 100% chance to place an additional sand debuff. And sand debuffs are crazy. It says this does nothing, it just gets her, but what Dust also does is she just turns off the willpower mastery, which is 2024 champs just turning off masteries, man. It's a common theme this year, so that makes it extra annoying. But I mean, if Dust didn't turn off the willpower mastery, she would kind of be a joke to fight, because you'd be able to willpower heal so much. So I guess it does make sense with her, but it is a bit annoying that champions kits can just straight up start turning off masteries now. But yeah, I think Dust is definitely accurately rated in the community as a defender, but very heavily underrated and underloved as an attacker. You know, she can build up prowess, she can get some pretty big specials going, and the damage is good for everything else that she brings to the table with her massive health pool and her defensive capability. I think Dust is a phenomenal all-around champion. It definitely deserves this number 8 spot. Okay. Hold on, let me check. What do I have at number 7? Right. Okay, so coming in at number 7, we have a champion I was alluding to earlier, and that is Prowler. Another champion that is immune to the effects of Falter. It's a very niche and nice immunity to have, and I'm pretty sure Prowler was the very first champion to introduce Falter immunity. He's just straight up immune to Falter, and he's also immune to Bleed and Incinerate, which is very good base immunities to have. Prowler does not crit, and instead, when he would crit, he instead applies Rupture. So when Prowler would land a critical hit, he instead inflicts a Rupture passive, dealing the critical damage the hit would have dealt as physical damage. Now, this is not the first time we've seen a mechanic like this. You know, we have Guardian, who doesn't crit, and instead does shock damage as the critical numbers. You know, we've seen that a couple times with shock. We've also seen it with, who else do we have in the tech class that cannot crit, that applies something? Jack now applies instant incinerates, and then plasmas against mutants. But so, you know, we've seen this before. Now, Jax being Incinerate is, you know, not really the best, but against mutants, it becoming Plasma is massive. That is incredible. But you're not always fighting mutants. So, that's why I really like Prowlers, you know, of it just always being Rupture. Because, again, like I said earlier, there are very few champions in the game that are immune to Rupture. So I really like champions that have that as their main source of damage, because I feel like I can bring them to like 95+% of matchups in the whole game. So I think Prowler just absolutely incredible. I really like the way he does his damage. And of course, you know, you do still want to crit. So, you know, we have the crit stat focus, and that's why you want to also have Prowler awakened and give him signature levels, because that is going to increase his critical rate while faltered. And the reason you want that is because then on your special 2, you want to line it up when the opponent is faltered and when you have your Incinerate debuff. And then if you get crits, you just see big pop, 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 and their health just vanishes. It's awesome. It's just awesome. You know, Prowler is just an incredible attacker. Early on this year, the new attacking options were very sparse. There was not many of them, and Prowler definitely stood out very early on in the first half of the year as just one of the most dominant attackers. In the second half of the year, we've gotten a lot of really crazy champions, so that's why Prowler is this low on the list, but he is absolutely phenomenal. Plus, he is not the worst defender. You know, we have a Prowler in Autumn of Agony. We just had him there. So he is an alright defender, definitely not the best. He's definitely more of an attacker, but to have some defensive threats, it's nice. You know, you can't immediately punish his specials or you'll get a falter passive on yourself. So, a little bit tricky to fight. Let's slow these down a bit. But yeah, dude, that is Prowler. coming in at that number 7 spot. Now we're getting to top 6. Now is when it's really getting good. So, coming in at that number 6 spot, we have Enchantress, dude. Now, Enchantress has been absolutely wild. Her AI is seriously unlike anything I've encountered before in all my 8 years playing this game. And I've encountered some crazy AI stuff, but nothing as consistent as Enchantress. Her willingness to throw that special one anytime that she wants is unreal. It is unreal. Like I said earlier in the video as well, Enchantress is, I would say, the best overall Mystic Champion released this year. 100%. Mainly because of how dominant she is on defense. But that's not to say she's a bad attacker by any stretch of the imagination. If you actually take the time to learn how she works, there's, again, another Karina challenge. The Gods, I think it was Cullsworthy. MSD was saying he did that one with Enchantress, and he didn't use any revives. To put that into perspective, I used about 10 revives, which is pretty good. I feel like I did pretty good on that challenge, but he used none. And the big difference was on our teams, he had Enchantress, and he knows how to play Enchantress. So she can just do crazy things once you fully understand how she works, and especially in long-form content. I believe that's the best content for her to really build up and really maximize. So Necropolis is like one heck of a place to learn her. Kind of wish I saved that challenge so I could, but I didn't know I was going to get a 7-star Enchantress, you know. I didn't want to use the 6-star. And, you know, I really think that 7-star makes a massive difference. That's why the moment I got the 7-star Enchantress, I took her right to rank 3, because the additional health pool is so important. Because we can compare for a second here. This is, you know, a rank 3 Enchantress, 86,000 health. If we compare that to a 6-star Enchantress right here, 69,000 health. So, you know, a big jump in the health pool. That, you know, which, you know, it doesn't seem like a crazy amount. It's like 18,000 health difference, but, or like 17,000. But when that's juiced up by 300% health and attack, it really adds up, and it makes a massive difference. It makes the fight last so much longer. And the longer the fight goes against Enchantress, the more special ones and craziness she's going to be throwing your way. Now, what really is the biggest threat going forward, I would say, for Enchantress, you know, is not just fighting her at base, but it's when you give her specific nodes. And, you know, we've had a lot of just absurd defenders this year, 3 in particular, and Enchantress is absolutely one of them. And when we've seen time and time again that when you give these champions one, even just one node that really plays into their defensive kit, they immediately become one of the biggest defensive threats in the game. This was made very apparent a couple war seasons ago with Enchantress, actually. On path 5, there's a heavy hitter node. So that means every time the opponent throws a heavy attack, they go passively unstoppable for the duration of the heavy attack. Now, when you're fighting Enchantress, you need to heavy interrupt her to get rid of one of her things. So, like, you throw that on her, and then you could also throw, like, for example, the node where when you dash, you just go unstoppable. Throw that on her, you can't intercept her, you can't interrupt her heavy. Like, it's certain nodes are just gonna make champions like Enchantress wild. So, like, if we ever get the next Necropolis or whatever, like, imagine if you're gonna have to fight an 8 million health Enchantress. Like, it's gonna be rough, dude. It's gonna be rough. But yeah, I think she's definitely the best Mystic Champ out of this year. I don't hate her. I don't hate the way the abilities work. Honestly, I like it. Maybe I'll hate it if we get a crazy challenge one day. But honestly, I'm a fan of Enchantress. I think she looks great. I think if you're willing to learn, you can get a lot out of her offensively, which I like. Personally, I'm not willing to learn, at least not right now. So, and that's fine. I'm still gonna get so much value out of her just as a defender on defense, throwing her down. So, yeah, dude, that's Enchantress coming in at that number 6 spot. All right. Now, let's go ahead and move on to top 5. Here is where it's getting really good, and it also might get a little bit controversial. But coming in at our number 5 spot, we have another defender in Bullseye. So Bullseye was one of the very first champions to come out this year in January, and I remember it well because when he came out, I was pushing in Battlegrounds, which is something I haven't really done since, at the start of this year. Initially, I was planning on doing like a top 3 push, and then and I was planning on, and I had a whole trip planned to Vegas. So I was going to go to Vegas, party with Mr. Andrew the Rough. This was before I think he even got a Celestial 1 finish. And then, we were going to party on the weekend. And then Monday, Tuesday, right before the season ended, we were going to grind. That was the plan, right? And that's what we did. And it sure as hell was a grind. And what made it truly a grind was the safeguard meta. So you can only do 1% damage. Well, that's when Bullseye came out. So we had to fight Bullseye. And you could only do 1%. And it was fun, honestly. It was rough, but it was fun because we're all trying to find counters. Like Weapon X and Iceman were brought up fairly early on. I remember the counter most used during that meta was actually Nick Fury, who you don't see against Nick Fury often, but in Safeguard, you did. You absolutely did. And I did end up getting top 10 that season, which was great. I was really happy with that. I was like, once I got into Celestial 4, I was honestly scared to keep going. Like I didn't want to risk losing points and having to keep playing because it was brutal. It was very stressful. But I got top 10, which was great. That was the last time I really pushed, and great memories just hanging with Andy. And fighting Bullseye, and that's how this guy. That's how it started. And then there was a couple more metas after that was also pretty crazy for Bullseye, but I wasn't playing nearly as much in those ones. But we saw instantly just how big of an impact Bullseye made on the game. We had never seen such a crazy defender. And he did get rebalanced. They rebalanced him, and it was one of the biggest gripes I had with the character. When he first came out, you would just dexterity out of the way and you would take bleed damage, and I just had such a massive issue with that. And the whole justification for it was, well, he never misses. Neither does Hawkeye. You don't take bleed damage every time you dex from him. Like, what? Like, that's the silliest thing, man. So yeah, I am so happy that was changed with his rebalancing. That was the one and only thing that was changed. And I think he's in a perfect spot right now. I think he's a very potent, powerful defender, but we have counters to him. But if you slip up, you can be so punishing. And what I like was with that rebalancing came with a new counter being born, aka my favorite champion in the game, Stark Spidey, because now you can freely dex and build poise. That was a byproduct of the change. I promise you, I did not have that in mind, but I was thrilled when I found out about it. And yeah, I've killed many a Bullseye with my Stark Spidey in Battlegrounds in record time. It's such a fast and quick fight. It's awesome. So yeah, I think Bullseye, incredible defender, one of the strongest defenders in the whole game without a doubt. Again, give him one node and he's gonna go nuts. A prime example in more recent time was the last Battlegrounds meta that we had, which was the Placebo and Spite, and that was just nuts for Bullseye, because the moment he goes over a bar of power, he gets that killer instinct. And, a lot of champions that are immune to buffs, immune to that Placebo, are Science. There's not many good Science counters for Bullseye. So it was just an insane meta. Bullseye was the most dominant defender, even more than Serpent, with Spite. Just because he'd go over that bar of power, and then he'd just evade whatever you throw at him, and it was just crazy. So, Bullseye, man, such an insane defender. But on top of it, and the reason I have him above Enchantress, I would say they're pretty equal as defenders. I still favor Bullseye slightly, but they're pretty on even grounds defensively. But Bullseye, he is so easy to play offensively. It's not a convoluted thing to learn how to play him. You have all guaranteed crits. When you go over bar power, you get your green icon. You let them hit into you, you evade, you throw your special, you get the Fury. It's so stupidly simple. and effective. Very, very effective. You can get a little bit more, some intricacies with trying to, get the perfect release and everything, but that's not needed. And yeah, at a rank 3 level, he feels very good to play offensively. So yeah, just a much easier attacker to use than Enchantress, and very equal footing defensively. So these two are very, very equal, but Bullseye just edged her out slightly for me. All right, we got 4 champions left to talk about here. Our top 4, and this might surprise people. Honestly, it surprises me a little, because I've redone this list multiple times. I first wrote this list like over a month ago, and it's changed. And every time I wrote it, initially, Serpent was number 1. But on my final rewrite, and with having all the information of all the champions released this year now, I'm putting Serpent at number 4, which might be crazy, because I do think Serpent is the most overtuned champion in the whole game. I genuinely do think that. But, Kabam did not rebalance him, which was, a big controversy in the community, which is still, crazy when it's called the rebalance program, and it's for game balance, and when the bulk of the community thinks for the best and health of the game, this guy should have been changed, and he doesn't. Kabam sees the balance of the game differently than us. They wanted a very powerful, overtuned defender. That's what they wanted. They wanted to sell that, and then sell counters to it. A lock and key, if you will. Serpent is the lock, and now we have many more keys to unlock it and to beat him. Like we said earlier in the video, Spiral, Shathra, didn't even talk about her, but Isofiend. Literally all 3 of these champions were built to be a good Serpent counter. We just keep getting more and more and more Serpent counters. That is Kabam's way to balance him. Selling more keys to the lock. So, I do think Serpent is one of the most powerful champions released this year, for sure. I think there can absolutely be an argument for him to be number 1. But I think with all the counters to him lately, I think his value has certainly gone down. I think it would be foolish to believe otherwise. He is not nearly as dominant of a defender anymore than as he once was. Because when he first came out, there was counters, but it was still finding those counters. Now all the counters have been found, and a bunch more have been added, and I just feel like his value has gone down a lot. Don't get me wrong, I still think he is insanely overtuned, but when 3 counters get released within 3 months, his value goes down, in my opinion. So I do see Serpent lesser now as a defender, but he is still an incredible attacker. On the flip side of things, definitely not the fastest in terms of like a Battlegrounds fight, but again, the Cullsworthy Necropolis Arena Challenge that just came out, I took my Serpent up to rank 3 for that specifically, even unduped, and he was doing great, man. He was crushing. He was doing some big damage, getting some big numbers. So, and he's fun. He certainly is fun to play offensively, and honestly, I enjoy fighting Serpent. Contrary to popular belief, I like fighting him. The thing is that before he was rebalanced, I didn't really enjoy fighting him in Battlegrounds just because it took so long. But like in Alliance War, for example, I love fighting him. I literally ranked up a champ and specifically requested to my officer, "Yo, can I fight Serpent?" Because I like fighting him. I think it's a fun fight when I'm not on a time crunch. When I can take my time and have counters. That's another thing. Battlegrounds, you can always draft a counter. But like when I can prepare, have time, and just it's fun. Like I would enjoy a million health Necropolis boss type of Serpent. I would enjoy that personally. I'm not saying it would be good for everyone in for the game, but I would have fun with it, genuinely. I like a challenge. I enjoy fighting Serpent. But I still think he should have been rebalanced a little bit. And that's what some people think, like, oh, dude, you're going to nerf Serpent into the ground. It's like, no, not at all. Just like a slight little change, like with Bullseye. I think Bullseye went from being unfair to perfect perfect. I love the way Bullseye is in the game now. After that one teeny little tiny change. That's all Serpent needed, was a teeny little tiny change. I don't know what that would be, what would be perfect, but I just wanted something. But yeah, I genuinely don't think Serpent is the best. I think the other champions that we're going to talk about are just going to be used a lot more, especially offensively. And you're just going to get more use out of them. So I put a higher value on them. So that puts them higher in my list. So that's my reasoning. But Serpent coming in at the number 4 spot. All right. Number 3. We have an absolutely incredible champion. And that is Diggity Dazzler. Now, holy crap, dude. I did a testing stream for Dazzler. And I was absolutely blown away, dude. I was razzled and dazzled, truly. Dazzler, man, oh my god, she is so crazy, so much damage. I heard like a comparison that she's like a more relevant and balanced Kitty Pryde of today, and I like that. You know, Kitty Pryde back in her prime was an absolutely disgusting animal, especially with the Tiger synergy. She was, with that synergy, truly the most busted champion in the game. Like, you could just basically stay indestructible for like 90% of fights. Like, it was, and unblockable. Indestructible and unblockable with that synergy. Like, it's just bonkers. And Dazzler's not at that level of broken, but without synergies, she's so much better than Kitty. Straight up. Like, the damage is easy to build, and it's devastating. Like, once you build her up, dude, you drop the special 2, you're doing like 800,000 damage. Like, it's so much damage. It is awesome. And she has great, incredible utility. The only thing I would say Dazzler is lacking on is immunities, which if she had immunities too, I mean, she'd probably be number 1 on this list. And if she was a bit better on defense, if she had those 2 things, she would be number 1. But I think she's perfect for what she's meant to be, as is. She is immune to bad vibes. She's the first of its kind, but also nullify. So that's good. I don't know if is there any other mutants immune to nullify? Not that come to mind. So in the mutant class, nullify immunity is pretty seldom. So that is nice. And then the awakened ability is massive. So, you know, a good way to think about Dazzler as well is like similar to Namor. A bit of Namor vibes. You know, with Namor, you need to Sig 200 him. You need to absolutely max out his signature ability. But once you do that, you don't take back any kind of damage whilst attacking. Now, Dazzler has a very similar thing to that, but it is not quite as good because her Sig only targets physical damage. Now, the trade-off, though, for not countering all damage is a pretty damn good one, and that trade-off is Sig 1. She does it. So at signature level 1, any type of physical damage she will not take while she's attacking. You need to be attacking, though. So, for example, you have a rupture debuff on you, and it's dealing 5,000 damage every single tick. Maybe you messed up and Sasquatch hit you with his special too. You know, you got 3 rupture debuffs on you. They're doing a bunch of damage. Well, all you gotta do is start doing a combo, and then you're gonna be taking no damage. I test this on my stream. So as long as it's a physical damaging effect, debuff, passive, doesn't matter. When you're attacking, you will not take that damage. More like everyday uses for this, your Korgs, your Atumas, you don't got to worry about that damage. So really nice. And then I really love the second bullet point here as well. So performing a dazzling dash grants a pursuit passive, which counters evasion, which what skill champion evades? Bullseye. So Dazzler can pretty much counter all of the annoying skill champions. You know, you can kind of think of her as like a mutant Human Torch in a way that takes some more finesse. But yeah, she's just so dominant for the skill class, man. It's crazy. Plus, she can absolutely go outside the class wheel. The damage is still phenomenal. Yeah, dude, I really highly rate Dazzler. Plus, you know, the great thing is that she is in this platinum track pass, and you could max it out and get her as a 7-star. Plenty of people have her as a 7-star right now. I am waiting though to unlock her, but eventually I will, and she will be in the next Titan batch as well. This is taking forever. There we go. Yeah, there she is as a 7-star, which is awesome. And of course, now with awakening gems becoming a lot more prevalent, it's not going to be that big of a deal to just awaken her. And again, it's not like Namor where you need to invest 199 sig stones. No, just get her awakened and she's good for countering all physical damage. You do want to have, I did testing with the second part of her signature ability, you know, specifically against Bullseye, and you want to be like at least, I would say, sig 40 to feel comfortable with your pursuit window encountering a Bullseye. But yeah, that is Dazzler coming in as the number 3 best 2024 champion. I think we are going to be seeing Dazzler on attack for the foreseeable future, for sure, dude. Like, I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. I think a lot of players are going to pick her up and start using her all the time. I think she's going to be rank 3 a whole bunch. Yeah, I just have a really good feeling about Dazzler. The mutant class really needed, it didn't really need it, but excellent addition to the mutant class. All right, guys, we only have 2 champions remaining. Coming in at the number 2 spot, again, this one might be controversial, but I don't care, man. It is Count Nefaria. This dude is so insane. I've been wanting to talk about this guy. I saw another top 10 2024 video on YouTube, and they didn't even have Count Nefaria in the top 10. And that just blew me away, because he's number 2 on my list. I put him above Serpent. Count Nefaria, man. I say, you know, Serpent's the most overtuned champion. Well, Count Nefaria is second. He is the second most overtuned attacker. I don't know about in-game, but 100% released this year. It is insane how overtuned Count Nefaria is, bro. Seriously. This man houses the most utility out of any champion in the science class. I will die on that hill. The amount of utility that this man has. Well, what utility, Legacy? Glad you asked. Immunities. Who doesn't love good immunities? So just at his base, always active, basically 3 immunities. Technically 4 with Power Steal. Power Steal's not a big deal. But Bleed. So this is an asterisk. Should be next to this one. So he's fully, you cannot bleed this man. But if you're fighting outside of class advantage, so fighting outside of against a Mystic, if you're not fighting a Mystic, when you get bled, you lose charges. And that kind of neuters his ramp. So that does suck. But you're still fully immune. And against Mystics, you don't have that. You don't have to worry about that. So as long as you're fighting a Mystic and there's bleed, it's fine. But 90% shock and incinerate resistance. So they'll still apply to you, but you're 90% resistant. So you're going to heal from willpower. So that's awesome. Now, that's not it, though. You might be thinking, like, I mean, that's all right. You know, bleed, shock, incinerate, that's good. Triple immunities, but is that it? No, there is so much more. So, once you get into your Ionic Overdrive, or just gaining Ionic charge, you don't even need to be in the Overdrive quite yet, but once you're at 100 of these charges, you go into Overdrive. But just gaining these charges, they grant physical and energy resistance. So, you know, that's great. 6,000. To put that into perspective, let's look at a couple of other champions. First, let's take a look at Guardian. So, you know, Guardian is the OG energy resist champion. His sig 1,500. This is low sig, but even at max sig, I don't think it reaches 6,000. Another champ that has insane physical and energy resistance is Absorbing Man. So Absorbing Man, he gains a lot in his forms, you know. In Black Uru, 9,000 physical resistance. In Magma, 9,000 energy resistance. Now, we all know Absorbing Man as the king of immunities, while Count Nefaria is the prince. So, the thing about Absorbing Man is he can never, ever have both of these active at the same time. You know, he may have more individual physical resistance or energy resistance than Count Nefaria, about 3,000 more, which still isn't even that much. But he can never have them at the same time. With Absorbing Man, you need to pick. You need to be in one form and have that, or be in the other form and have the other. Bro, Count Nefaria has no such limitation. No such limitation. Let's put this back to 2024. There we go. Get it off Mystic. So Count Nefaria has no such limitation, and you're pretty much gonna always have this up. It's very easy to always be in your Ionic Overdrive, so that means you're going to constantly have 6,000 physical and 6,000 energy resistance at the same time. Also, we're not done yet. There's more. And 90% degeneration resistance. Dude, degen is one of the best damage over times in the whole game. It probably is the number one. 90% resistance to that too. And again, you can have this all the time. It's so easy to keep this up, to keep counts ramped. It's not hard at all. 10 parries gets you this. Just playing normally, a couple combos, special one gets you this. It's not hard at all. Also, you gain a bunch of attack rating as well. You're gonna hit harder. That's great. So Count Nefaria just has immunities and utility for days with all that physical energy, degen resistance, plus bleed, shock, incinerate immunities. Incredible. But there's more. You know, what makes a science champion really good utility wise? You know, when I ask that question, what I think of, my brain goes back years. It's like, what did the science champions used to do? You know, I think of Void. You know, it's Petrify. It's RNG, but you know, once you get that Petrify up with Void, you know, you counter regen and power gain. That's very important, countering regen and power gain. Well, Count Nefaria counters regen and power gain. So, like, he counters that, and again, he just does it passively in this mode. So it's right here. Once you're in that Ionic Overdrive, you just need 100 charges. Again, super easy to do. Also, another fun thing that you get when you're in this overdrive, of all of Count Nefaria's attacks are non-contact and deal energy damage instead of physical. So that's even more utility that you get. And so here, additionally, the opponent's regeneration and ability power rates are reduced by 95%. 95%. Forget Petrify. Forget RNG. 95%. And when they gain ability power, he gains 60% of the power denied this way. So not only are you blocking your opponent's power gain, you're stealing some of that power gain too for yourself. And if you can get this guy awakened, he does the same thing with the regeneration. So that first bullet point, during Ionic Overdrive, passively regenerate 32% of health denied to the opponent due to the reduced regeneration rate. Each tick of this healing cannot exceed certain amount scaling with base health. So not only does he counter regen and power gain, he can steal that for himself. Dude, like, there's no one in the science class that has more utility than this guy. Like, it's so much, the amount of things that he can do. And the only argument against him is, oh, unfazed, dude. Oh, unfazed turns him off. Oh, unfazed. Nah. I've had this guy since the day he came out, and I can promise you, unfazed has never been a big issue. Not a single time. It's triggered a couple times, sure. Guess what? I regen it right back instantly. Finish the fight above 90%. No big deal. No big deal. Now, it would have been nice if Count Nefaria just straight up turned off unfazed, like a bunch of other 2024 champions do, turning off masteries, like we talked about Dust. I forgot to mention it, but Dazzler also turns off a mastery. She turns off the Stand Your Ground mastery. Right here. So no stopping the light show if Dazzler's opponent has the Stand Your Ground mastery active, it is removed. So, you know, Count Nefaria could have very easily had a clause in this case. If the opponent has the unfazed mastery, it is removed. but they didn't do it to that. They didn't give that to him. Honestly, it's fine though. He doesn't need it. He's so good, it doesn't matter. And of course, Serpent turns off the Dexterity Mastery. But yeah, that is Count Nefaria, dude. I cannot truly say enough good things about this guy. I think he is going to age like the finest of wine in the contest years from now. People are going to be regarding him as easily one of the best science champions, and I'm not going to be surprised. I truly think Count is that good. Number 2 best champ of the year for sure, man. This guy is the best soul attacker. He has the most damage and utility, in my opinion, of any champion released this year, and he's just incredible. The only downside to Count Nefaria is he's not the best defender, but even still, in the current Battlegrounds meta for the Gladiator circuit, this Matador, he really screws with this, and he can just go to like 3 bars of power with it. So I don't know if that's a bug or not, but he definitely has some crazy mechanics that can make him a good defender under certain circumstances, but under normal circumstances, he's truly not the best defender. But he is so good, so dominant, so much utility that it's fine. It doesn't matter. And we haven't even really spoken too much about his damage, but this guy hits so hard. Like I said, it's so easy to build him. Once you build him, you get a bunch of attack rating, so he just hits harder. And then you throw your special 2, and for every Ionic 10 charges that you have, you gain a Fury passive. So you have your base damage, you have an attack increase from going into your mode, and then when you throw your special 2, you get a Fury attack, passive Furies by the way, attack increase, scaling with however many charges you have. So now you have 3 different things increasing your damage, plus you also all your attacks are now energy based, and when you evade with Count Nefaria at the end of an opponent's special attack, you're applying an energy vulnerability. So this makes your energy-based attacks deal more damage. And this is insane. It's 2,600. Dude, if you get like 2 of these up, you start to just be doing like over 30,000 medium crits. Like, it is... This is responsible for like 50% of Count's possible damage output. Like, this can increase his... It can like double his damage, and like I already said, it's good. His base damage plus the attack scaling plus the Furies, which is great already, and then you add this, and it like just so much damage. Now you can't always get this. That's the thing. Against Serpent, for example, you can't, because when Serpent throws a special, he has true focus, so he cannot miss or be evaded. So you can't get this against Serpent. But even still, Count Nefaria is a phenomenal counter to Serpent. Absolutely one of the best Serpent counters released this year. He might not be the fastest, but he is absolutely one of the best still. He has insane control. I think Count Nefaria is a much safer option than Isofiend is against Serpent. 100%. 100%. You know, Isofiend, she's going to be great for dealing with Serpent at the very end of the fight, but Count Nefaria is great for dealing with Serpent the entire fight because of that power gain control. Now, even still, though, against Serpent, Serpent has a special little clause in his kit where his power gain can only be reduced by 50% outside of the Mystic class. So Count Nefaria's power gain is actually his power control is being cut in half versus Serpent, and still, his control is insane. If you don't believe me, I made a video of Count Nefaria versus running the Serpent Gauntlet. Very first try, Serpent never threw a single special 3. It's so easy to control him the entire time. First time doing that with Isofiend, the 3rd Serpent blasted me with a special 3. Count Nefaria's control, dude, it is insane. He is such a good champion. I will not stop talking about how good this guy is. Number 2 on the list. The only champion that surpasses him, our number 1, is Deathless Thanos, who, you know, technically, we can't even get until next year, but technically, he's 2024. He was created this year. So, he's going on the list, and he is absolutely the number 1 best option. In years past, champions from the Death Realm staged an assault on the Battle Realm. They were led by a twisted simulacrum of the Mad Titan, who distilled from the unique energies of of this pocket universe 6 new Infinity Stones to spread discord and destruction. Now he has returned to lead his Deathless Elite in a campaign of terror against the contest and its meager defenders. And holy crap, does this bio speak true, man. Thanos is ridiculous. So first and foremost, the damage output. The damage output is phenomenal. He's got armor break, armor shatter, and fury buffs that he can build, and very potent fury buffs at that. Each fury buff here is increasing his attack by 2,700. You can stack up to 8 of these. So very big attack increase. With that 8 furies with the armor break, the armor shatter, your damage is going to be colossal. Now, damage isn't everything. He also has great immunities. We have immunity to Cold Snap, Frostbite, and Poison. Poison is such a strong immunity to have, and Cold Snap is a rare one, so this means Kate Bishop can't take him, which is great. And yeah, that's a very nice niche immunity to have. Now, what truly makes Thanos the number one on this list is one thing in his abilities, and that is, was it Office Special 1? Yes. This right here. So, man, the Special 1, you gain Furies, but you also gain a Genesis passive. So after the final hit, gain a non-stacking Genesis passive for 10 seconds, allowing Thanos to passively regenerate 2% of all damage taken by the opponent. So again, I just said, he hits hard. What happens when you hit hard and you just heal based off the damage that you deal? Well, you heal a lot. So it is so easy to keep Thanos' health topped off, just regenning the damage that you're dealing. It is so easy. We've seen this in the deep dive. The regen is so fat. It's not based off of missing health, which most champions are, which heavily nerfs regen. No, it's just 2% of all damage taken by the opponent. Straight up. That is so good. That is so good. He also introduces a whole new damage over time effect called Corrosion. So Corrosion deals physical damage while active, increased by up to 100% scaling with reductions in the target's armor rating. So when you armor break them and armor shatter them, this Corrosion is going to deal way more damage. So man, Thanos is introducing some really cool and unique things into the contest. He looks absolutely incredible, and it makes complete and total sense for Thanos to be the number one on this list for one simple reason, and that is Kabam promised 1 year ago, after the Battle Realm Brawl, I was in the Kabam headquarters, and I distinctly remember them telling us and teasing us about the whole Deathless and everything. And they said it would be worth it. The final champion, they guaranteed us, would be an extremely meta-relevant champion. And we had a hint that it was that. I don't think it was officially revealed right away. But I also think it was kind of easy to guess, but yeah, he was promised to be insane, and Kabam absolutely delivered, dude. I cannot wait to get my hands on this guy and be playing him offensively. I'm gonna use him so freaking much, and on top of everything else, he is going to be an absolute menace on defense that you're going to need to plan for a couple of reasons. He has protection, so kind of similar to Thing being, taking a while and trying to cut through that protection and getting your damage reduced. Thanos is going to have that. He's also going to have Counter Punch and Unstoppable. So you're going to need to watch out for that. And I think you're going to need to slow down in the fight. Another great thing that he has is Panic. So this is some really nice utility for Deathless Thanos. He applies this Panic debuff, which allows him to counter evade and miss. Man, it's just, there's so many good things to say about Deathless Thanos. I cannot wait to get this dude, man. Truly, gonna be my first rank 4. That is my plan right now, and yeah, dude, I'm just so excited. His health pool also seems to be pretty solid. I know regular Thanos has a pretty big health pool, so it looks like I think this Thanos is similar to regular Thanos' health pool wise, which is great. So he's gonna be a big chunky cosmic, and yeah, dude, I'm so excited. So yeah, guys, that is Legacy's top 10 picks, the best 2024 champions released this year. Yeah, I'd say my personal favorite is absolutely Count Nefaria. I just love this guy so much. So many good things about him. Yeah, just truly think he's so good, and I'm excited for the community, for more of the community to come around on him, because there's still some doubters, but I'm sure those doubters will be disproved within the next year of the contest. So, hey guys, that is going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Again, this was completely my opinion, and you are more than welcome to disagree, but just keep it respectful and civil. But yeah, drop in the comments down below whether you agree, whether you disagree. Show me what your top 10 list would look like. And yeah, are you excited for Deathless Thanos? Are you able to get him? If you're not able to get him, how many pieces are you missing? I would love to know, because if you are able to get him, man, or you're a piece or two away, I absolutely think it's worth it. But guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Thank you so much for all the love and support. We're going to be going so hard in the year of 2025. Be on the lookout. You're not going to want to miss the content. Peace.